Hello everyone again. I hope everybody is present and everybody can hear me and will hear all the other participants. My name is Krzysztof Gawrecki and I'm rector of Millennium University, one of the organizers of today's and tomorrow's conference. I would like to warmly welcome all the participants, all the speakers of the first International Art, Technology, Education, Management Conference. I must say I'm very excited because our conference is organized with our new academic, or our latest academic partner from Turkey, Burdur Mehmet Akif Ersoy University. It is worth noting that speakers of our event represent 8 universities coming together from Poland, Turkey, and Malaysia. This is the first time event, but I'm truly convinced that it opens a new chapter in the history of our institution. Today and tomorrow we'll have an opportunity to get to know different points of view on various international subjects, exchange opinions, and ideas on various aspects of education, IT, and of course management. And I'm sure that this conference will be a recurring event. It wouldn't take place without the involvement of many people, but I would like especially to thank the creators. Dr. Sibel Karakel, former Dean of Faculty of Education at the Burdur Mehmet Akif Ersoy University. Thank you very much for your engagement. Dr. Katarzyna Miłek from Millennium University, who initiated the cooperation with our Turkish partner, and Dr. Tomasz Albiński, the Dean of Faculty of Social Sciences at Millennium University. Thank you very much, and thanks all the people who helped to organize this conference. So, we are just about to begin. I wish all the speakers successful speeches. I hope that our students will be active. It is a great opportunity for them to listen to such distinguished guests and speakers. But there's one thing that makes me sad. We are meeting online still, and we will be lacking the behind-the-scenes conversations and the coffee. The coffee we have to brew for ourselves. But it will change soon, I hope. Thank you very much for your attention, and I would like to pass the floor, or rather the screen, to Dr. Sibel Karakel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dear Rector and dear keynote speakers, dear colleagues and our prestigious students, it is a great pleasure indeed for me to welcome you to the first International Art, Technology, Education and Management Conference. We are so delighted to have our distinguished keynote speakers with us, who will make a great contribution to this event with their valuable insights and experiences. I am very, very happy and grateful that so many distinguished scholars have come to share their knowledge and experience to inspire our future leaders in all fields. Furthermore, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Honorary Rector Krzysztof Gawrecki, Dean Thomas Albiński, and to Dr. Katarzyna Miłek for their diligent efforts to make this conference happen, and many others behind the screen who have generously given in help in the process. I sincerely wish that this conference will be a great success, not only as a chance to share knowledge and experience in higher education, but also as the beginning of a long and fruitful cooperation and friendship among fellow educators, scholars devoted to the most meaningful and worthwhile task of teaching and training the youth who will shape our future. Thank you very much for your cooperation and participation. And here is my copy. I hope that we will have it together in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you very much.
We would like to now give the floor, or rather the screen, to Dr. Fatih Uzler, who will give us presentation about Web 2 tools and virtual reality in education. Dr.
Hello.
Uzler, can you share your screen, or should I?
Okay. Doesn't matter. You can share. I can share too.
If you can do that, would be great.
Okay. Okay. Just few minutes.
Perfect. We can see your screen.
Okay. Okay. It's right now. You can see.
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you or our professor, dear professors, for this conference. I think this is so important nowadays. And I want to talk about Web 2 tools and virtual reality today. You can see our content in this presentation. First, I want to tell something about me. I'm lecturer in Istanbul University, Cerrahpaşa, and I'm working about educational technologies, especially VR and AR, virtual reality and augmented reality, and also serious games and Web 2 tools, you know. Technology is so important nowadays. Everybody can know this, and I want to tell something about technology. I think technology is similar to knife. You know, we can use knife for cook, and also we can kill someone. Technology is similar. If we use technology good, we can do good things, and if we can use for bad things, it's for dangerous all users. And because of this, we have to know how can use internet technology for good way. Because of this, especially in education, we have to know these subjects. First, I want to start from Web 1. You know, the first internet area, just few basic web pages, and looking like brochures, just images and text, and just few creator on Web 1 area, you know. After Web 1, we can talk about Web 2 area. Web 2 area is, you know, not just reader. Also, we can create something and we can upload, we can share. And this is, it means a high level interaction. Because of this, we can see a lot of web page and tool in Web 2 area. This is so important because everybody can create something in this area. This is also in education. We can create educational tools and web pages. This is for compare Web 1 and Web 2. You know, Web 1 static, Web 2 dynamic, and content is important on Web 1, but in Web 2, interaction is important, not content. And also, there's a lot of creator in Web 2 area, but in Web 1, just few user can upload something. And users not just reader in Web 2, users also creator, and there is another important subject, it's contact. In Web 1 area, people can contact with email. It was asynchronous. It is not useful nowadays because, you know, we are using WhatsApp or something like that. We are sending message and we are checking blue tick. If she or he read this message, oh, she read and not answer right now. But in Web 1 area, you are sending an email. waiting, and no answer maybe. This is showing us Web 2 area is so fast. Contact, create, upload, and there's a lot of things fast in Web 2. And we are talking a new subject nowadays, Web 3. We said for Web 2, people can create, people can share, but in Web 3, not just people creator, because there is one more creator, it's machine. Machines can search and create and upload and share nowadays. And there's another subject, Internet of Things. Internet of Things, it's mean things can connect to internet nowadays. For example, we are using a lot of intelligence machines in our house or in car. For example, robot cleaner can connect to internet, and we can use our robot cleaner from the other country or in job. I can clean my home from job, from my office. This is Internet of Things. Also, machines can think nowadays. For example, if I'm using a intelligence fridge, my fridge can check my vegetables and can send me a message. You should go to the market and you should buy something. Yes, this is available nowadays. And this is showing we can connect to internet everywhere and to every things, in house, in office, in classroom, in car. There's a lot of intelligence cars nowadays. And 2D to 3D, it's another subject in Web3 area. We are going to 3D worlds in this area. Web2 tools or other tools almost 3D, but 2D. Nowadays, we are seeing 3D worlds in technology, in internet. Virtual reality is the most important 3D, I think, place on Web3 area. Virtual reality, the computer-generated simulations. We can see 3D images and environments in virtual reality applications. We can create virtual reality applications with very, very good computers. And virtual reality needs some electronic equipments, for example, headsets or other things. What is components of virtual reality? 3D graphics is so important for virtual reality. If there is not 3D graphics, we cannot speak about virtual reality. And also sounds. We should put sounds to virtual reality applications, headsets, controllers, and nowadays there is a new thing for virtual reality: clothes. We can wear a glove and it can sense our hand moves, or we can wear clothes and it can sense our body moves. This is a new but important. Augmented reality, another subject in this area, but sometimes we can mix these subjects. Augmented reality, virtual reality, which one is virtual, which one augmented. I want to tell something for these two. In virtual reality, there is a lot of virtual objects in virtual reality and no real things in virtual reality. All things virtual, and we have to use headset. But in augmented reality, yes, there is something virtual things, but also we can see a real child, real seed, and also virtual tree. This is so important. We can't see any real things in virtual reality. Maybe 3D graphics, but not real things. The other subject in this project presentation, Web2 tools in education. How can we use Web2 tools in education? I think we are using a lot of tools in real classroom, but also we have a lot of Web2 tools in internet. If you need some tool in classroom, you can find it on internet. Exams, boards, surveys, games, speaks, classroom management tools, or there is student numbers in classroom. We can use QR codes in Web2 tools. I want to show a table for examples. There is a lot of important Web2 tools in education, and I also primary school teacher. I worked for 2 years before university, and I tried to these tools a lot of time. For example, Flickr's Kahoot, so important for survey or exam. You can make an exam with Kahoot and with fun. Normally, exams is not funny, but with Kahoot, you can make exams with fun. Really, really, students loves Kahoot or Flickrs. We should try Web2 tools in classroom, in education. And also, Toontastic 3D tool is an animation tool from Google. It's free and so useful. You can use in your classroom or in your education, because there is a lot of free characters, free motions, free graphics. You can check this tool too. And there's a lot of QR code tool, storage tool, ebook tool, other things. But I want to tell something. Sorry. I want to tell something for Canva. Canva is so important for me. You can see this presentation, and I create this presentation on Canva. You can create presentations or brochures, what you want. And if you sign up with your education mail, it's free. Pro version is free. This is so important. I'm using Pro version with my EduMail, and I'm so happy with Canva. Also, you can use mobile version Canva on your phone. Another tool, Pixabay. Pixabay, we are using a lot of tools in internet, but we need pictures. Something problems for pictures or images about copyright. We want use, but copyright is very important problem for us. If you enter the Pixabay and if you download some picture or image from Pixabay, you can use what you want, what you wear. This is free image Web2 tool. I want to tell something for learning apps. You can see game making tools section on this section. Learning apps, very good Web2 tools. I used these tools for a long time, and I'm using still. You can find a lot of other types in these tools. For example, exams, fill in the blanks, pairing, and this is free too. You should go learningapps.com. You should check. And if you sign up the learning apps, you can find your before apps in your account. First, sign up, create something, and you can find your apps 5 years later. This is important. For example, I create some apps when I was teacher, and I can see my applications still in my account. Augmented reality tools, Quiver, this is most useful for me, augmented reality application for me. You can check the web page, Quiver web page, and you can check mobile Quiver application too. And Class Dojo, Google Classroom, they are for class management. You can see there is a lot of things, different things for classroom. In real classroom, what we need, we can find in Web2 tools. Also, you can find a lot of course on YouTube. We have a channel for this. This is Turkish, but you can use subtitle or translate, or you can find a lot of English channels for Web2 tools. If you want some tool, you can search on YouTube and write just Web2 tool. For example, animation Web2 tool. Search it and you will see a lot of tool. And also you can use our channel. How can we use virtual reality in education? When we should use virtual reality in education also. There's a lot of impossible place and subjects on Word. For example, not just on Word. I want to give example from space. We cannot bring our students or our friends to space, but in virtual reality, we can go space, we can travel, we can look. This is just one example, and we can give a lot of example for this. And also there is one thing for virtual reality: time. Time is so important in education. There's short time. For example, we want to go a place, but here on the world other side, we can't go. But in virtual reality, we can go the other side of world. And money. There is one problem for travels or educational tools too. We cannot buy everything in education, or we can't go always. Schools can sometimes cannot give money for travels, visits. Another example, we want to go Italy for a museum, but money is so important for this. We can use virtual reality, and we can bring our students to a museum with virtual reality. And also security. There's a lot of dangerous subjects in education, and explodes or crash or something like that. Again, we can use virtual reality. It's not dangerous, just one headset, and we can show our subjects to students. And also expensive tools, for example, again, in health education, there is a lot of expensive tools. We can't buy always that machines or that tools in our school, in our university. We can use virtual reality again. I want to show some virtual reality application, and we create these applications, especially the first one, this science coaster. There is a roller coaster vehicle, and we are going a travel with this vehicle, and we are seeing a lot of animation, a lot of graphics for this subject, and also we are listening to sound about the subject. Train is going to underworld, and fossils or something like that we can see. And second part of this application on space. You know, space, we can't go space nowadays, or onward, there is just few people can go space. But with this application, we are teaching to students world moves, day and night, seasons, solar systems. This is so easy. Just one headset, just one application, and you can show your subject to students. And this is so good for students too. And third one is for health education. A professor came to us. We can find this machine. This is so expensive, and also if we buy one, it's not enough for students, because you know there is a lot of student in classroom, and one machine, a student try, but another students cannot try to this machine. After this conversation, we made this application. Students can come this application. They can try machines. They can control the person. They can go all laboratory in this application. And we are working on ambulance and scuba applications. This is just example. If you have one headset, virtual reality headset, you can search on market. Just similar mobile phones. On mobile phones, we can go application market, and we can search what we need. It's same in virtual reality. Just buy a headset, go market, and what you want, search. This is useful nowadays. There's a lot of company, headset company, and Oculus. Maybe you know this company. Facebook bought this company, and nowadays they are working so much for virtual reality. And because of this, you can find a lot of application for education too. I want to tell thank you for listening to me. If you want, you can contact with me for projects, for give information, take information. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think that we have time for questions. Do you have any questions? I wanted to ask you about these tools you presented. Do you have favorite tools for the online education? Can you hear me?
Sorry?
Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes, right now.
I want to ask if you have any favorite tools. You presented many tools for online education, and I wonder if you tested all of them, and
yes,
if you have favorite ones, and also if those tools are for free, or we should buy a premium account or something like that.
I can make you a short list for this. My favorite Web2 tools is learning apps. Learning apps is so important for me. And if you want, I can show something on learning apps.
I'm not sure if we have time for presentation of the tool. Just give us the idea what. Okay, learning apps.
Okay. I will tell something. Learning apps, the first one, and also Canva. Canva is normally it's not free, but we can use it's free for education mail. You can sign up with your education mail and you can use free. And I said mobile application is available too. And also Kahoot and Plickers, it's for exam, and I used for a lot of time in my classroom. I made my exams with Kahoot and Plickers. It was so funny, and students told me always, "Teacher, please make exam again on Kahoot." And you can hear these things on real classroom, but in web tutors you can hear this with Kahoot and Plickers. This is important. And also Toontastic 3D. This is good for 3D animations. You can find a lot of 2D animation application, but 3D applications not so famous. Google create this application, and you can create video with your friends or students. It's free also. Another tool, and Pixabay, I said free download. Okay, this is my favorite list.
Yeah, you gave us lots of examples.
And also,
yeah.
Also, I'm using Unity 3D, but it's not a simple tool because you should know coding or software developing things. But if you want to create some mobile application or virtual reality application or computer games, you should use Unity 3D. It's free for users, not free for companies, but users, it's free. You can check Unity 3D too.
Okay, thank you very much. Then thank you for a very interesting presentation.
You're welcome.
I would like to ask now our next speaker, Dr. Anton Abdul Basar Kamil from the Nizam Tasi University. If I'm mispronouncing, please correct me. To give us the presentation about stochastic efficiency in data development analysis using sample average and sample median approximation in operations management. Dr. Kamil, are you ready to share the screen with us?
Yeah. Can I share first? Yes.
Yes.
Just wait a little bit. Yeah. Anybody can hear? Can see my?
Yes, we can
slide?
see your slides. You
Okay.
can. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Juana. Okay. Honorable Rector of the Millennium University, Prof. Sibel from Burdur Mehmet Akif Ersoy University, and organizers, speakers, and students. Very good morning. So first of all, I would like to thank to the organizer to invite me to this conference, especially Prof. Sibel. Yeah. So today I would like to talk about the efficiency, and I will be use stochastic data development, yeah, to solve this problem in efficiency. So before we go to the stochastic data development analysis, or we call SDEA, let's take a look what is the meaning of the efficiency itself, right? So if we are talking about efficiency, actually we would like to reduce the amount of waste resources, right? Especially in input, because we would like to have some output. So this term of efficiency actually is in general, in economic, we are known as productivity. So actually in economic term, efficiency is the same like as productivity, right? So here efficiency actually is requiring reducing the number of unnecessary resources, yeah, to produce a given output actually, right? Right. So that is the definition of efficiency. Then efficiency actually is very important because it will be a key of performance, yeah, to measure the performance actually. Yeah. So here I just focus to the efficiency. Actually, a performance indicator can be there is two measurement. Yeah. First, it can be measure efficiency, and the second one is effectiveness. So in efficiency, actually, we can mathematically we can tell as the ratio of output divided by input, right? So input, it could be raw material, for example, time, energy, labor, and so on. The output is the product, yeah, what we try to sell, yeah, something like that. So effectiveness is actually is outcome divided by input. So there is the difference between output and outcomes. So outcome is just a product, right? So what we already produce. But the outcome actually is what is the impact of the product to the customer, right? So it means output is just halfway to the outcomes, right? So this efficiency just measure about the output divided by input here, right? But if you like to have more, for example, for the goodness of the company, so it's better for you to measure the effectiveness, right? But here to find the data of outcome is not easy, right? But if you have the data of outcome, actually, to measure effectiveness will be have the same method what we are done in the efficiency. You just change the data of output with the outcome actually, right? So graphically, if you take a look here, right, DMU here is called as decision making unit, or every unit they already have the value. If that value is touch the line, so we call is efficiency. If not touch the line, so we call is inefficient. And the value of efficiency is always positive, and maximum is 1. So we can say that 0 is inefficient and 1 is efficient. However, now some researcher they allow value of the efficiency is more than 1, so they call it super efficiency if they're more than 1, yeah, something like that. So there is no negative value, but there will be 0 until 1, right? To measure the efficiency, actually we have two type of method you can use. First, we can use the method in parametric or in non-parametric. So it depends on which way is convenient for you, or which way of the pattern of the data, right? For example, there is many model you can use in parametric and non-parametric, but I just give the example, one in parametric and one in non-parametric. For example, we can start with in parametric. Yeah, in parametric, actually, for example, everybody know about the multiple regression, right? So the idea of measurement of efficiency in parametric is come actually from the multiple regression. Yeah. So we call as a stochastic frontier analysis. So in this case, if you take a look in multiple regression, we have one dependent variable and several independent variable, or X, right? Dependent variable measured by Y. Yeah. So we just changing the term of independent variable become input here. So you can put many input there for many X, and then just one output. Yeah, we consider as Y, or dependent variable. And then error in the multiple regression, for stochastic frontier analysis, we can divide it by two. That's error for the model itself and error to measure in efficiency. So that's the difference between stochastic frontier analysis to measure efficiency and the multiple linear regression actually. So we just modified in error. Yeah. So error will be divided by two, right? First measure what the model itself and the other to measure in efficiency. So this error is measured about stochasticity. However, of course, in reality, if you are facing with the data, the stochasticity must be there. So this parametric method or this model is very useful. But the demerit is this method just only can measure only one output. So because sometimes we would like to measure more than one output and more than one input. So this model cannot use for more than one output. So that is the demerit. So that's why people now can go to the what we call non-parametric method. So in non-parametric also there's some model you can use. One of them is we call data envelopment analysis. So in data envelopment analysis, actually you can measure more than one output based of several input, right? So usually is mathematically we can formulate like this one, yeah. So actually there is two approximation here. It can be output oriented and it can be input oriented, right? I will be touched that one, yeah. First, for example, if you would like to maximize the output, so it will be input oriented, and if output oriented, you will be minimize the input actually, right? But the problem here in the data envelopment analysis, the measurement is not involve error or stochasticity. In reality, actually, in many applications, the data, the errors must be there. So now many researchers try to involve stochasticity in this data envelopment analysis, and the research I think still in progress. Yeah, so it's a bit difficult to find friendly software to solve this stochastic data envelopment analysis, rather than, for example, if you have in parametric method like a stochastic frontier analysis, you can solve using Stata, right? Or this Stata is one of kind of the statistical software you can find. Also SAS, for example, statistical analysis system. Or if you know a little bit programming or code, you can use R program. R program is free for everybody. Yeah, you can download. And for DEA, the classical DEA or the you can use DEA software. I'm sorry. It could be a DEA software or Lindo, or also R program, right? Or you can type in the Google what you call DEA software for free. There are so many you can use that one. All right, but for stochastic DEA, because this the research is still in progress, so you cannot find any software to solve this one. So you need to do make your own calculation, right? So this is the classical DEA. So it's not involve what we call error, right? So we are talking about weightage here, right? So we will be using the linear programming and optimize to find the optimal solution, right? Okay. So as I mentioned, okay, before we go to the stochastic data envelopment, we will be start with the history of data envelopment analysis itself. So this data envelopment analysis is introduced by Charles Cooper and Rhodes in 1978. So they call CCR model, right? Because the author is start with C and R, right? And this model we call as constant return to scale because the weightage all is the same. So they call constant, right? And then in 1984, Barker, Charnes, and Cooper improved the model. So introduced the new model, and this model we call SBCC method, and it's based on variable return to scale, or it means this they modified the existing model that the weightage of the input and output become variation, have the variation. So it's not constant anymore. It's not have the same weightage in this case, right? So as I mentioned before, that the data, the pattern of the data actually is always involve the stochasticity here, especially if you are dealing with the time series data or panel data. So definitely the stochasticity is there. So if you are analyzed using this classical DEA, maybe the decision or the conclusion you make is not really robust. So it's better for you to modify the classical DEA to become a stochastic DEA. So you will have better conclusion after that one. Right. So here I just would like to explain a little bit about the difference of the constant return to scale and variable return to scale between these two model introduced in 1978 and 1984. So you can see the asterisk there or the star. The star is mentioned about the weightage. The weightage is for every unit or decision-making unit is different. Yeah. So you have two oriented here, or two type of the DEA model, input oriented and output oriented. So input oriented actually you would like to maximize the output, and output oriented is minimize the input, right? So we'll be use this the constant, and then in this case we are talking about the classical. So the error is still not there, right? It's not include the error in the model. Right. So now I would like to explain about the stochasticity here. If you are already calculate the efficient for every unit, right? So the aggregate, and then after that, because you are talking not only one unit, maybe there are several units. So the proportion of efficient unit you can type as P is equal to the N1 divided by N here. And if you are involved in time series, yeah, the time is always changed. So of course, this proportion of efficient unit also will be changed over time. So that's why the stochastic is very important here, right? But here even the weightage of the input and output always change each other. The total of the weightage we will be set is equal to 1. Yeah. Right. So for this presentation, I will be focused to the variable return to scale, right? Or BCC model here, right? Based off this model, and then we will be modified and will be input will be involve the error in this model, right? We will be put this error. If you take a look here, error is epsilon there, and then there is a as R plus and as I negative here, mean this one we call as a slack variable, right? And epsilon is error here, and then the constraint we will be put the probability there. So that one is will be include the stochastic data envelopment here. The stochastic element here. So to solve the constraint, actually you can simplify it. You can derive all this formula, and then finally you will get simplified. Then you can use standard normal distribution. Yeah. So for this constraint, right? Okay, I will not move this one. I think I will be skipped because this is just talking about the slack variable, right? So this is to modify the constraint, especially to find the alpha. So we'll be using the standard normal distribution. If you take a look here, the SR plus is in the standard normal distribution, we always say is X, yeah, variable X, and this is in the brackets summation. This one is represent the mean, and the sigma 0R here is represent the variance. So you can find the standard. You can use the standard normal distribution to find the value of alpha. Of course, to make it this all derivation, and then we put in the model of stochastic data enforcement analysis, we need to have the definition. Yeah, we can make this maximum or the optimal solution must be equal to 1, and all the slack variable must be equal to 0 if we would like to have the optimal solution. Right. So then we will be put all the modification to the, after we make the all modification to the standard normal, the model will become, this is the process, all these things to become a standard normal. So the model actually will become like this one, right? But here we cannot solve non-linear modeling anymore, but this will look like become a non-linear because of this function actually, right? This function of what we call the variance. Yeah? So for this one, we need to use a non-linear programming model. So to solve non-linear programming is not easy. So actually, you can make modify it again to the deterministic model, and then after that, you can solve in linear model, right? So there is two steps how to answer all these things if you would like to have the result, right? Okay, then wait to move. Okay, so yeah, this one is modification to the standard normal actually. So I will not touch this one, yeah. And then the variant actually is a term of the factor here, right? And then we'll be using the standard normal and normal assumption here, right? Here is all the process, yeah? And for the application, I will be put two application. First is we are using the sample average or mean. Yeah, this we can apply if you have the data is more than 30. Yeah, and the second application is using the median sample. Yeah? Median average approximation or sample median approximation. Sorry, this is if you have a small data or less than 30. For example, we can see here I have 160 data. So we would like to see which one is the efficient for every city in Indonesia. We have more than 160 city. And which one is more efficient in terms of use of the ICT, right? So from the 160 city, we divided by 33 province. So all this we have the average value and so on. So it's been the data is more than 30. So we can use sample average approximation. So here we can find the efficiency. So I just put super efficiency because some of the value is reach more than one here. For example, Jawa Barat, Jawa Tengah, and Jawa Timur. This all, yeah, they're good in using the ICT, and the other city is less than one. So it means still not efficient or inefficient, right? For the data is less than 30, we can use the sample median approximation, because as we know that in the central tendency, we can use mean, median, and mode. So I think for the small sample, median is appropriate to replace the mean, right? So here we just modified of the median in terms of the mean and the standard deviation variance, sorry. Then after that, for the example, we will use the selecting vendor. For example, the sample just only 9 vendor, and will be focused is about 12 criteria. We would like to have 4 criteria, and 12 variable will be measured as the decision-making unit here. For quality, here you have 4: personal, procedural, concentrate of quality and company history. And for the characteristic price, you have 3 component here: quality price, actual price, financial ability. For performance, you have 3, and for facility also have 2. So the total you have 12 DMU here, yeah, or decision-making unit. You can see that one. Okay, then after that, we will be calculate the mean and variable, mean and variance. And then here, if you're using the approximation to the using the median, yeah, and with help of the lingo, so we can make some simulation. Yeah, we need to put different alpha and beta here to find a good model and equation here. And finally, we will have a good model with alpha 0.2 and beta is 0.9. So we can find the relative efficiency and the efficiency. So from here, we can find that the vendor 5 is the efficient one. So we can choose vendor 1 as a first ranking, and the second ranking is vendor 6, and so on. And the worst one is vendor 1. Okay, so from here, actually, we can make the conclusion that DEA is very important because have advantage. You can measure more than one output, yeah, with several input. However, with the pattern of data, you need to involve the stochasticity here. And for the application, for the data is more than 30, actually you can use sample average or mean. Or if the sample is less than 30, or for small sample, you can use a median approximation. Yeah. So besides that, before I end my talk, I think I would just like to share with you. Actually, you can also analyze the DEA using the other distribution, because the pattern of the data not always normal. So you can maybe they follow the logistic regression or exponential distribution, uniform distribution. So I did using the uniform distribution here. And what you need is just changing the density function there from normal distribution to the specific distribution. In this case, is uniform distribution. Uniform distribution is the very simple distribution in the continuous distribution. So here, I think nobody try this one. It's still open problem. So we try to do this one, and then changing to the what we call to the stochastic frontier model, and then involve all these things. And then finally, we just run the simulation, and then we compare with the observed data. And then finally, we can get is all these things in the range of the interval area. So it's a good application, the good model. Yeah. So I think that's all for me. Thank you. I will leave back to the Dr. Joanna. Okay.
Thank you very much for this very interesting and insightful presentation. I would like here to ask you just one question. What do you think is the biggest advantage of the tool, of this method you are
This is
using?
the method. Yeah,
This
this.
seems a bit complicated, to be honest.
Yeah, sorry. Maybe because I'm a mathematician, so I just talking with the symbol and the number. But actually, the advantage is one is the more robust compared with the existing method we have, and have the advantage we can measure more output and with several input. And in the future, maybe some researcher can be, because now we are talking about DEA is a non-parametric. So if we involve the stochasticity, this method will become a semi-parametric actually, but not real full parametric, because we still have violate some assumption. But it's not possible in the future. It will become a parametric method, so it will be a good method, and then it will be have a simple, for example, what is called software, so everybody can use. So, but this, the problem is now the research still in progress. Yeah. Okay. There's still open problem all this. Okay. Maybe that's my answer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to ask now a colleague of mine, Dr. Peter Odrakiewicz and Dr. Mikola Orlikowski from the Millennium University, to give us the presentation about integrity, sustainability, and intellectual capital challenges in management education in the era of artificial intelligence. Could you please share your screen with us, Peter or Mikola?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. It will take me just some time I try to share the screen. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and hopefully you will see the presentation. Can you see the presentation now on integrity? Yes, you can. Yes. Okay. So I would like to thank you for the time that you assigned to me and all the organizers, great universities, Dr. Sibel Karakel, Dr. Krzysztof Gawrecki, rector, and of course the dean, Dr. Tomasz Albiński, Dr. Katarzyna Miłek, Joanna, for such a great management of this conference, and all the people that spoke and shared their knowledge before me, and that there will be, of course, also speaking during the first and the second day of the conference. I really enjoyed both speakers, Dr. Fatih on the Web2 tools, virtual reality in education. I think I would try to maybe a little bit talk about how to incorporate this and learn from Dr. Fatih, how to incorporate learning on the integrity, sustainability, intellectual capital challenges. And also Dr. Antol Abdullah Kamil from Nishantasi University on stochastic efficiency in data development analysis. I think the purpose of such a meetings is such a great knowledge dissemination and learning from each other that the possibilities to meet today, as our previous speakers mentioned, the Dr. Fatih Ojer from Istanbul University, Sharafasa. Sorry for sometimes misspelling your name or the names of the respective universities. The tools of the meeting online and also using the more advanced in the future, possibly augmented reality, gives us ability to break the borders, and sometimes the share this knowledge where meeting in reality would not always be possible. I think that our experience recent with the especially the challenging time, pandemic times, but not only pandemic times, but also challenging economic times for many countries that even they were present before the pandemic times, and the issues of the safety and security make such a meeting advantageous, and we can share the knowledge and do it in a financially safe and stable environment. Today presentation I would like to bring the topic of the integrity, sustainability, and intellectual capital challenges in management education in the era of artificial intelligence. My co-author, Dr. Mykola Orlikowski, Dean of Millennium University, Gniezno College Millennium. We have here a Department of Social Sciences, and then, of course, we work in both educational sciences, and we work also in, of course, management sciences. Maybe I give you a little bit background why I am interested in this subject. Of course, in management, the business ethics, ethical decision making, they were present even before the management schools were born, because, of course, the first philosophers, 1,000 years, at least that we know some of them, Aristotle and Plato, 2,400 years before us, they started exploring, and even people before them, and talk about, for example, ethics, and Aristotle talk about the knowledge and what is, for example, ethics, what is physics, and what comes after physics. So what is metaphysics? Of course, today, then we try to share the knowledge, build the knowledge, exchange the knowledge, and find solutions that are very much needed in our globalized world. And right now, we see some challenges, maybe going to be even a deglobalization in some ways, that we will cooperate, but maybe it's not going to be so much outsourcing. There are people and economists and management scientists talking about friend shoring, near shoring, so bringing back the production to your country, bringing back the production where you can easier manage it, well, with the cost of fuel and with the inflation, making now all the parts all over the world with challenges with the supply chains being in some ways damaged. In fact, it's hard, as you know, sometimes to get a part for a car when you produce it, or for some other, when the semiconductors is made maybe in one or two places in Asia, and maybe in some places in the United States. So we are thinking more about better management. And now come the subject of the integrity that was always with the universities. Intellectual capital challenges, when the first universities were born in Europe, but I don't want to say that Europe is the only place of the creation of the knowledge, because the knowledge was created even before the first universities, as I brought. For example, when you read the great work of the philosophers throughout the ages, they all talk about the issues of integrity, of ethics. Maybe not all of them talk about this directly as the topic of this here our presentation, but in fact, when you even look at Immanuel Kant, or you later, even before, you talk about people that Avicenna, Averroes, as they are known in the Western tradition of science, philosophy. They also commented on the issues related to the ethics, to the knowledge sharing and knowledge creation. So, organization which was working on the management toolkit for students. It was called the United Nations Principles of Responsible Management Education. And I got involved with such a group. It was an international group. I'm sure the people from your countries were also involved. From some universities, from Poland, 2 people were able to go to the United Nations conference that happened in 2012, as I remember, in Argentina. If time, of course, allows, I can share the screens, and I will also incorporate this into my presentation. We work how to teach, how to set the guidelines for the principles of responsible management education, and there was a toolkit that we built that I will talk about this, about those principles. And of course, in our maybe I just change here the slide. Let just me see if can you see now the keywords?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so how I go about this now, typical, we will talk about management teaching challenges, and of course in artificial intelligence era, but also of course traditional teaching, integrity and sustainability capital promulgation, integrity as the subject, intellectual capital in the era of the artificial intelligence in higher education and business, because we have to remember that what is the purpose? Of course, the purpose of the universities, as we of course meet here, is a knowledge creation, sharing, and be able to grow and learn as a professional. But also our role to the society is to of course educate, but also knowledge share from the academia to the public, but also to business, and to people that in the future will be teachers, some of them managers, engineers. So the issues of integrity, sustainability, in intellectual capital transfer, it's not only for a management or economics or maybe for education. I think as we work in United Nations on the principles of responsible management education, that I will share the 6 main steps later in the presentation. This is so important, whether you teach anthropology, biology, zoology, or medicine. Well, in medicine is even more important, because then it's between a doctor and a patient, the issue of the integrity of patient trusting doctor, but also in banking or business, in so many. This topic is, in my opinion, very important throughout the academia and business in a society. That's why. And now, of course, we go to next exploration, what we are seeking to discuss. Well, as I said, how to manage education in a way that integrity capital will be promulgated, in some ways shared, in innovative ways, in the era of artificial intelligence and in an era of unprecedented changes. In fact, you have learners now from many countries that are entering education realm not only after the high school or after 4 or 5 years of working. We have learners that have 20 years of experience. Some of them have very good experience in a way relating to my subject, such as integrity, sustainability, but also I teach, for example, organizational management, organizational behavior, and I see that people are sharing the issues of stress in the workplace. I know there will be presentation later of mobbing, of issues of corruption in business. Well, we cannot say that this does not exist, because such issues, when we equip students with the skills that they will be aware what integrity is, how you can act ethical. At least they will be, in my opinion, our ambassadors. That means they will be a motor for a solution, for a change. Of course, it will not happen overnight. Maybe I just go to the next slide. We'll see if we will see how this artificial intelligence co-instruction affect acquisition. So maybe I go back to the previous one. In fact, discussion of challenges for management education integrity capital in innovative ways is very important, because we present here examples. My dean and I, we always talk and we share, for example, what his challenges are during the educational process, and what my challenges are, and how we can learn from each other. And in fact, this presentation is building on the previous published articles and ongoing new research. I think a lot of research in social sciences, because management and education fall into the social sciences, but also the humanistic sciences, and social sciences is so broad, as we had a presentation from mathematician, which many times, of course, is a pure science, but in fact, there's no economics without mathematics. And on the other hand, there has to be an ethical side and integrity side to this. So we all are needed to meet and learn from each other. So in fact, maybe I will now talk a little bit about background. Artificial intelligence is becoming an increasing part of our daily lives. In fact, it is expected that by 2024, I here cite Schmelzer, a researcher from 2019, by 2004, about 47% of learning management tools will be enabled by artificial intelligence. Well, that's growing, as we see, growing trend. So educational institutions are desperately trying to develop more talent to facilitate the spread of the use of this, of course, intelligence across multiple learning environments. In fact, recognizing that the entire education industry is being transformed by artificial intelligence, as we've seen from previous presentation, and of course from our experience in international management education, artificial intelligence systems are being used to tailor and personalize learning for each individual student. So, of course, it's also cost effective. I'm not saying that this is the answer for everything, but in fact, with the present logistics, financial constraints, and some safety and security issues, we have to, we utilize these new technologies in order to bring the innovation into education. In fact, the previously mentioned Professor Schmelzers point out that artificial intelligence systems are being used to tailor and personalize this learning for each student. In other words, rather than requiring teachers to create a single curriculum for all students, educators will have augmented intelligence assistants that provides a wide range of materials leveraging to the same core curriculum, but catering to each student. And of course, we should ask right now, okay, well, how, in fact, how does integrity fit into this new artificial intelligence augmented reality?
Sorry, we can see your slides on Microsoft Teams, but we are streaming on YouTube and we cannot see your slides on YouTube. Could you turn on the present mode?
Oh, I will, of course, try to do my best. And if I cannot manage, would you be able to help me and go from your screen? Because that could also be beneficial.
Yes, yes. I think that we have your presentation, right? So,
Yes, it is there as integrity, sustainability. If you could please.
yes, so stop sharing and I will share.
Okay, so I should stop sharing. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let me just do this. If you want to, I do stop sharing.
Oh, yes, I see it.
Could you?
Yes. Just give me 1 second.
Thank you for doing this for me.
We can see it on Microsoft Teams. That's why I didn't realize from the beginning, but we cannot see it on YouTube. So it would be great if. I'm checking how I can do that. Sorry for this.
I can maybe continue and you try to.
Yes, continue. And in the meantime, I will give you your slides.
Yes, please also let me know how the time goes because I don't want to keep my colleagues, away from the coffee break and so on. But thank you for helping me. And of course, we are I think, still within the time.
Yes,
So we left the presentation of Dr. Mikołaj Orlikowski and mine on the integrity. How does integrity fit into this new artificial intelligence augmented reality? And in fact, I think how does it fit into the new reality? We cannot deny that the life, economic life, and a social life, it's under a big transformation. We still, at this point, don't know what type of transformation will it be. Will more, for example, cars be run on this newer technology, or maybe some people, due to financial constraints, will try to resort to more basic, for example, operational tools. But let's look at telephone that everyone has. Yes, the cell phone. The cell phone today, you can, in most countries, you can get one cell phone at the price that it will not bankrupt you. But with the car and with the price of gasoline, no matter where you live, in Malaysia, you live in Turkey, you live in the United States, or Ukraine, or Europe, the price of gas is in a way that most people have to think almost ecologically, because it's impossible for them to go to so many times and refill their tank. Of course, I lived in the United States, in Canada, for many years, myself being a citizen of Canada. So I remember a gas that cost in 80s about 50 cents per liter. Yes, and the Canadian 50 cents. So Canadian 50 cents, it was probably 40 cents US per liter. So today, of course, it's talking fantasy about such a prices, because we know how much it costs. But coming back to the presentation, we have to think in this era of, I would say, artificial intelligence augmented reality, but also the reality of the big transformation. And where would the globalization go? Will it more develop into the cooperation between nations, or are we going to close in such our clusters, or the clusters of countries? And will the globalization in some fact be some impediment to the economic? Thank you, Dr. Joanna, for helping. I hope it works. Yes, right now on the YouTube. Can you hear me? hopefully. Thank you. I maybe share a little bit, I just put on the chat. Presentation.
Yes, we can hear you. Please continue.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, thank you. Okay, so there is no simple explanation to the question, how does integrity fit into the new, I would say, transformation? Organization may understand it differently. How can integrity be defined? Well, integrity, many of us we have been struggling with this. Integrity has been defined as the quality of having strong and consistent moral principles that one refuses to change. This is one definition. It is, of course, I cite Cambridge University. It is a firm adherence, talking about integrity, what it is a firm adherence to a code of especially moral or artistic values. Here, artistic values, we mean incorruptibility and unimpaired condition, soundness, and the quality or state of being complete or undivided. Yes. Types of integrity include integrity of character, which is very important in management for any professional, also professional integrity of the academic teacher, researcher, and a business manager. Well, and the authors that here present this, who would like to now talk how we can teach this. Well, in fact, talking about a virtual classroom, many times I use case studies, and the case studies can be understood in many different ways. One case study that many universities use is that, for example, Harvard Business School uses. They are cases written by business people, by professors, sometimes shared, and then the students, read this, and could be on ethical decision making, on integrity in business, on principles of responsible management, and then they talk about it. But I think these are, of course, good. My school, University of Western Ontario, that I cooperate with, the Ivy School of Business in Canada, they also have cases, and I'm sure your universities are also utilizing different cases that are more culturally more sensitive to your environment, that are more up to date. I think the case study that I research a little bit teaching in education, the best case study is shared from someone who is working in the environment. So, for example, you bring someone, or you record an interview with the business person or with many people, or you do some research, or even students does some research. And for example, on the topic of anti-corruption in business, or integrity, or issues of mobbing, and then they present this in the classroom using their, for example, a questionnaire that they've done, or the challenges that they had while trying to obtain the questions on mobbing. Well, it's not easy that you go into the company that produces cars and you get a data, what is the level of mobbing or stress. But anyway, this is a real case. Such a case can equip students with the competences of thinking about how to better prepare yourself for a situation in the future after they finish their studies, and then they will be, junior workers, and then maybe promoted to junior managers. Integrity is not something we are born with. It is something that is learned and strengthened over time. That is a report, or the research by Miller from 2001. Integrity is a conscious choice that one has some control over. To put it in plain managerial words, integrity can be defined as the formal relation to oneself, and it often has something to do with acting morally. In an organizational context, we should examine the integrity principles of consistency and ask, is it possible to evaluate the manager's behavior in the organizational context on the basis of a body of his or her integrity standards? So I will maybe move to certainly the next slide, we talk a little bit about the artificial intelligence construction. This is becoming more and more present in our academic institution. My here presentation, Dr. Mykoła Orlikowski and myself, we are in a position that lack of the sustainable management, that lacks, of course, the integrity, lacks ethical stand, that lack of such a practices and corruption resulted from this type of teaching in management leads to social exclusion. Remember many times in these American schools, myself, I was teaching in schools in US and giving lectures as a visiting professor, for example, in University of La Verne. We talk about what is the essence of the firm, of the corporation. Well, some people say, well, you can teach about those subjects, but when you go into the life of working, there will be a bottom line profit. It's nothing wrong with the profit. Profit is needed in a economy because the profit brings possibility of innovation and also the development, how the profit is achieved, and that is not leading to socially excluding people. That is very important. So I think the free market economy is an economy that is bringing prosperity, but what about the issues of sustainable management practices? And how to, of course, teach this issue is another thing in the free market economy. And honestly, many of you may, of course, have your own opinion. The many economies, even those that portray themselves as the most free market economies of the economies, for example, of G7, United States, Canada, Italy, United Kingdom, Germany, they have a very high influence of the state in the economic and economics management in their respective industries. So a pure unrestricted bottom line profit economy. Thank you for sharing the next slide, Joanna. I will probably ask you in a minute to also share next one. That is very hard to achieve, and I don't know whether the achievement of such a economy where the bottom line profit is and no the taxes, of course, could be less. We always like to pay less taxes, but when it comes to the issues of security or healthcare and so on, then, of course, there has to be some balance between the business performance, between the profit on one side, then the integrity is very important, and also for politicians, because our students may become a future politicians. So in fact, we are trying to equip them with, as I talk about these case studies, with the issues that they are aware how to manage ethically. If I can ask you, Joanna, to maybe show the next slide. Very much, thank you. So now maybe I talk a little bit more about the issues of United Nations Principles of Management Education. As I said, in 2012, as a representative here of Poland with many other countries from all over the world, we gather on the United Nations principles and we develop United Nations. I had the privilege to be a co-author of such an MBA toolkit, which is called MBA United Nations Principles of Responsible Management Education Toolkit. So with those principles, we First one, will develop the capabilities of students to be future generators of sustainable value. Maybe I talk a little about this for business and society at large, and to work for an inclusive and sustainable global economy. And you teach many different subjects, and I think those principles can be used in, as I said, from archaeology to zoology, social sciences department, pure sciences, humanistics. They are very much important. And whether you incorporate some life case studies, you talk from your experience, you bring someone that has knowledge on that and will talk to students about this. Sometimes when the students are of different age, so let's say a student that has very little employment experience and you have a group of students that have extended learning experience, you can create in a classroom such group work where students with experience will share their experience. Of course, we use academic text on the business ethics and so on, and there could be different ones. I don't want to here bring too many new subjects, but the most important is that we will develop the capabilities of the students, whether we teach educational studies or different social sciences or management or economics, will develop those capabilities to be a student. I always tell them, you will be in the future a generator of the sustainable values. So you will manage ethically, you will teach, you will try to instill those values of ethics and integrity into your, whether some of them may not become a teacher, but they will become maybe a junior manager or a supervisor, and they will be responsible for a training. So when they are responsible for people, group of 4 or 40, it is very important that they develop those capabilities, because in fact, as a managers, as a teachers in the schools, or as an engineers, they will, or IT professionals, they will be future generators of sustainable value. If I could ask Dr. Joanna of next slide. Thank you very much. So now how in those values that United Nations is, of course, you can in fact moderate those and adjust those to your respective country's situation. About 3 minutes, I will try to wrap it up, and then there will be some questions, because I know that my time probably is here up to 10:45. So in the future, or right now, in fact, I'm incorporating into the academic activities the curricula. So let's say when we construct the program, the syllabi, organizational practices, the values of global social responsibility as portrayed in the international initiatives such as the United Nations Global Compact. And I know presently many people suffer from the insecurity, from the war effects, from in fact impossible inflation that their families deal with. I took part in many conferences with the colleagues from Asia and Turkey. They share with me stories that of despair, of their students being socially excluded, and their situation is also not so. In fact, we have to be, as an academia, a motor of change, and many times maybe give a guidance to those that think that ethics and integrity may not be so important. I think it is a very important, and if I could ask Dr. Joanna to for the next slide. So how to create educational frameworks, and I think here it's up to you. You can use case studies, you can use some invite someone. This virtual learning makes this possible. If I can go to the next slide. Thank you very much. Of course, research is very important. So learning from each other advance the role dynamics, impact of corporations in creation of sustainable social, environmental, and economic value. I take part in the meetings in Rutgers University in United States. Such meetings, they invite always a business professional from the big company that or small to medium company that is responsible for either ethical decision making on or issues of sustainability. So, and we learn, the students also learn during such a meeting from real cases from the professionals. If I can ask for the next slide, thank you very much. Partnership is very important here. Interaction with managers, business corporation to extend our knowledge, and of course in meeting social and environmental responsibilities. We are, as I said, we live many times, we don't realize at the era of the big transformation, who knows in a couple years whether we still going to be relying so much on the oil and fossil fuels, or the real breakthrough will happen, for example, in hydrogen technology. If I can go to the next slide. Thank you very much. The dialogue in our conference is an example of this. Is very important that we share those issues, and of course for a global social responsibility and sustainability debates. If I can ask for a next slide. The toolkit, of course, source is here, that I was a part of this international team and still cooperating. And then if you could go to bibliography, maybe 2 more slides, and then I will wrap it up. Of course, maybe next one to just to the bibliography. Okay, based on those authors, I try to also share with you a little bit about integrity, sustainability, intellectual capital challenges. Thank you very much, and maybe if there are any questions, I'd be happy to explore them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Another question, of course.
I would like to, I don't know whether ask or seek advice from our honorable speaker, if I may, in 1 minute.
Please,
Yeah.
please.
Of course.
Ismail.
Yeah, thank you so much for the very informative presentation. We know you've mentioned about case studies, and we use case studies to as a training method or to make students learn about real life scenarios. But when it comes to integrity, moralities, or issues with ethics, it is always to me challenging to write cases. How can we go about that? Meaning, if I work in organization X or Y, and I see and I experience a lot of unethical conduct, and if that organization is in a country where you can't speak your mind, where you can't, you might even be threatened if you speak, then it becomes very challenging. I once remember I wrote a case, challenges in Penang. I mean, arrogant businessman challenges in Penang, and I had to use unreal names. I always find it difficult to write about problems. Of course, the employer will not leave you alone. You may end up going to court, and it may go worse comes to worse when you might even find yourself in a threatening position where, So I don't know, any advice for me as a writer, how to go about this? I would love to write about things that is happening, things that are happening, unethical things, wrong things, sometimes illegal things. At the same time, you want to write a case study on organization, you cannot put the name in because you will be in trouble. So what is your advice to me how to do? Because I really want to write a lot of things about many organizations I have interacted with, but I always face this challenging situation. I can't use names. And if you don't use names, I mean, how to go about it? You say a university in Southeast Asia, or you know where you were working. So,
Thank you. Well, thank you,
all right,
Ismail. Thank you for your important questions. I share your concern, but just sharing concern, and of course, colleagues that are facing similar challenges is not enough. One option, of course, is to carry out such a research through, let's say, people that are able to be part of this employment situation, and then to write about XYZ, so the corporation in a city of, you cannot even mention the city because you may even land in jail in some situation.
Yes. Exactly.
And we know this. It's maybe easier to talk about the case that is already present and from a country such as United States or Canada, but in fact, in many countries, it may exclude you from teaching even, because if you research too much, my students, for example, I had Nigerian students in Poland, so they taught me, they even were telling me about such corrupted practices in Nigeria, even in a process of coming to Poland. So I said, well, it's almost impossible. I should report here someone, but in fact, then it happened. Then I was teaching them how to prevent corruption in the workplace, and they went to many different companies here in not only because they studied in English, and they went to international companies in Poland, and they did some research. For example, do you use some you have some ethical code? They did not ask specifically about anti-corruption, but they asked such an open question, what type of ethical decision making are your managers learning? Do you have some programs on anti-corruption? So they were not asking direct questions. Did you find corrupted practices and how you prevented them, or how you dealt with them once they were found? But they asked them more openly, so people start talking. But one of the things the students brought back to the classroom, it was that some companies did not even want to talk about them. So maybe the level of corruption there was too big for even to enter a question about integrity ethics, because the subject was too sensitive. And of course, sometimes we have to leave it, and then in the future to find a way, either through someone that left this company and then interview this person and write about XYZ company. Well, that's the best I can say, but I share your concern.
All right. Thank you so much, Prof.
Yes. Anyone else? If not, I would like to thank you very much for being here and for listening to our presentation.
Thank you very much for your presentation and for the other presentation we already listened. I would like to invite all of you for a short break till 11 Polish time, and then we will continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Joanna. Thank you.
Thank you very much.